guys, welcome back to More Than Society. My name is Meta, and today I'm excited to take you guys on a journey through some fascinating topics that can really get to the heart of those who are a member of the society, or really anyone that's like living anywhere in the world. We'll be exploring today, guys, what it means to be jack of all trades. Is it better to be versatile or to specialize in one area? We'll also dive into the differences between being a good leader versus being a good person. And can somebody has to be either one or the other. And finally, we're going to talk about masculine and feminine energy, because I feel like we can have a lot to say about that. And not in just term of gender, we're going to talk about the balance of this energy within us. And finally explore how these energies kind of shape our life, how does it influence the society and things like that. So whether you're here to challenge yourself into thinking or you're just curious about these topics, we're just going to dive into the thought-provoking episode of More Than Society, episode 3. So again, I'm here with my brothers in Bali. It's one of our last days here. And we had a lot of fun, ups and downs. I mean, any relationship is not easy, but I think we always manage to come through. And I love how we discuss so many different things. So yeah, this is, again, I would like to introduce Garvit, my little brother, and my middle brother, Urchet, Anadi.
Yeah.
So Garvit, do you want to kind of...
Yeah, new environment here, right? So we moved from Canggu to Uluwatu, so that's why we're here, and we have this nice sofa, which is kind of nice. So yeah, continuing with the topics we were discussing, and the first thing you mentioned was jack of all trades or specializes in one, right?
Yeah.
So what I feel about that is that I think we tend to streamline. Like we're told to streamline into one thing. We're kind of pushed into it. And, I'll get into more details. Just beginning of learning, growing up, going to school. I think you're bombarded with a lot of knowledge, and then you're told to kind of pick one. So I think that'll be the default settings, as I would call it. So the default settings would be that you go into one kind of stream, because that's how the system, or that's how it's set up, or at least the hierarchy or workplace. It's like you're streamlining into one thing. And when you're working as well, you're specializing in one thing, and then another person is taking care of another thing. So you're not doing all of these tasks simultaneously. It's more sectored. Mm-hmm. So I feel like the default settings is that you're specialized in one. I believe that if you want to be a all-encompassing or reaching all of your potential, then you should be able to kind of handle different stages of a project, or different stages of a life or in personality. So I would tend to go towards more being jack of all trades is a lot more useful than being specialized just in one thing. That's kind of my opinion. Yeah. On the surface.
All right, so you introduced yourself, but it's Anadi, and yeah, happy to be in Uluwatu. This is where I first started my journey. And we're back in the same location, same Airbnb as I started, so there's a lot of memories here for me. So we're gonna discuss about jack of all trades, and I agree with what Garrett said. It's always in phases. It's never you're doing multiple things at once, and you have to specialize and be disciplined in one thing at a time, for sure.
So I was going to start with this introduction that, so jack of all trades or master of none. So that was kind of what I thought of as the subject. And I remember, when we're elementary school up to high school, we learn a little bit of everything. And it's really fun, you get introduction to geography, you get introduction to math and history. I remember I took music in Rosemont High School, which was really nice, one of the only public schools that had a music program. But I had to let go of drama, home ec. Yeah. There was another extracurricular, and I was really sad. I was like, damn, why? I love music. I love that I chose music, but I was like, why do I have to let go? I want to know what drama is, and I still am craving to do a theater show, and I'm still craving to experience that about myself. Who knows? Maybe if I tried theater, I would have had a passion for acting. Because a lot of people tell me that, oh, you're good at expressing yourself, you're good with your vocals and you get characters. And I was like, oh, there is a feeling that I want to try acting. So I was like, damn, why do I have to let go of that? So I never liked this whole specialization, even though like I want to focus on music, but I feel like I can also see a part of acting that I would never have. And then after, you know, you're in high school and you have to graduate, then you have to pick a university course. So I never got to go to CEGEP. And then again, I was like, wow, in CEGEP, you guys get an introduction to philosophy. You get an introduction to all this humanity. And there was another topic that I really liked. Starts with a P. It's like old history things, like how...
Evolution?
Yeah, kind of like that. Like... And I never studied that, right? So now on my free time, I'm reading books about it, you know, and I'm getting to know those topics. But I was like, CEGEP is such a cool program we have in Quebec that gives an introduction before you get to pick your major specialization. But for me, it was like, okay, now you have to pick your major and you have to dedicate 4 years of your time. And I was like, what do I do? What do I pick?
Yeah.
And I just picked it out of fluke that, okay, I'm going to take business in general. And then in business, again, I had to specialize. Like, I can only go so much about general business, right? Then you have to pick a major. And I was like really picking it out of randomness. Like, okay, I didn't take marketing because I thought it was too easy. It was full of like girls. So I was like, I don't want to take accounting because it's boring. So I took finance only because I like math and I like the challenge. And I think it's a little bit too much demanding on a person to choose a specialization course at such a young age when they don't even know what's out there as like a field. And now in hindsight, I tell students that follow what you want to do and don't necessarily kind of look at the major or the jobs that there is. Like if you put your passion and your knowledge, you will find that job for you.
Right.
And I was really fortunate enough that I found my job as a fashion buyer because it had like my math skills, but at the same time I'm like artistic and I like I have an eye for fashion, and I blended those two together and I found my job. But they don't tell you that I could be a fashion buyer.
Right.
You know, they don't tell you that these type of jobs exist. It's like finance, equity investor, you know, but also business is like huge, you know. And now when I was in India, I have a friend who's in doing a law degree, but he loves music and he loves rap. And I was like, you know, you can be a lawyer managing person for artists, for contract deals.
Right.
Like people need that. And then he's like, oh yeah. I'm like, it's not I feel like in university, they don't show you that there's so much potential for just even that topic too. There's like so many niches in it. And I think that makes people scared to choose their major or they make the wrong decision for it. So I think I think that we want to specialize in something, but it's just forced in such a young age that it's confusing.
Right.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah, but you know, like, I'm going to add a little bit of philosophical twist to this. When you ask people why they go to university, most of them say that they just want to find a job, right? They want to find a job that can earn them a living. But I feel knowledge goes beyond just earning a living. I feel like if you just want to get a job, university is not type of the path that you want to go to.
Like, well,
because they're going to specialize you into a specific job.
Yeah.
Like they're gonna take away all your other ambitions and try to streamline you so then you can do that specific job. But when you think about life in general, then it becomes, what kind of human do you want to be? What kind of person do you want to be? Do you want to be a specialized person that only does that one specific job for the rest of their life? Because that's daunting. That's a daunting thought to think about. And how could you know about all of this just at a very young age when you're 19 or 20?
Yeah.
That you want to work this job for the rest of your life.
Exactly.
Right? And then you have these crises that happens at later stages in life. It's like, wow, I'm going to work this job for the rest of my life, and that's what it is. But it's like, that's kind of what you decided going into university, is that you just want this knowledge so you can find the job. But I feel like if you just want to find the job, university is not, I feel like, the right place for you, right? You're not going to learn as many skills as you can if you don't go to university. So, you know, I think...
repeat the last sentence? You're not going to...
Learn as many skills as you potentially can if you go to university, right? Because I feel like you have to approach life in terms of what kind of person you want to be, less in terms of how you want to earn a living. You know, I don't know. At least in North America, where you have kind of your baseline covered.
I think that trend is going everywhere right now. Like it is university. Like, I don't want to be a socialist or whatever, but because of capitalization and industrial revolution, we have this specialization. Like,
right.
It is
right.
made.
It's like a factory.
Yeah, it is made for just that.
It's like a factory. It's pumping out those people from that elementary, and then it's streamlining you to do that specific job, so then society can keep running. But what does that do to the self? What does that do to humanity? What does that do to people's potentials?
Yeah, 100%.
Right? Those are ignored because you're only looking at output. You're only looking at, okay, this person can then work for a company that can then do well for the economy. But what's that doing to the individual? I feel like the individual is ignored and society is more focused because it's always society versus the individual, right? So individuals make a society, but if you focus on individualistic needs, then sometimes you're sacrificing society. And if you look at societal needs, then you're sacrificing the individual. And I think that in North American society right now, at least in Canada and the United States, and I say this as someone that's done the whole streamline of university.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
up to
what's
the
your
PhD
background?
point, right? Like I've done, bachelor's, master's, and now I'm doing the PhD, and then now I see the whole system, like from high school, from elementary, all the way zooming out, because I'm part of the system, and I still am, right? As I see it, is now it's like you're kind of sacrificing the individual for society. That's how I kind of view it, and a part of that has to do with removing people's potential to do a lot more than just specialize or just become a master of one thing.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's removing their special. I think it's because they don't know that they have this option.
Right.
Like in such a young age, it's like, oh, pick your major. What are you going to be? And like one of my friends even dropped out of university because she didn't know what she wanted, and she still didn't finish university.
Right.
She's like, psychology. There's no jobs in psychology.
Right. Exactly. And that's the first thing. I think if you take a survey of people that are going to university and you ask them why, they're just going to write that they want to find the job. And I find that so primitive.
Yeah.
It's very primitive. And how can you know what job you want to do? You haven't even worked in the workforce yet. How do you know that job is what you want to do?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're going to university for something that you don't even know. You don't even know what it does. Like, what kind of options you have. Like, it's overwhelming, clearly.
Yeah.
Right. So why specialize into something that you don't even know about?
And
at
like,
the end of the day, right?
Yeah. But I think we're getting slightly sidetracked into debating if whether universities or school is good or not. But what I wanted to discuss more is about, like, can you be a jack of all trades, or is it better to be a master
in one thing?
Yeah.
Like, okay, yeah.
And I don't think you can be a master at everything, right?
Why do you think that?
Because there's no one that is at this date that is a master at everything.
But what's
well, there are people that are doing multiple things.
Yeah.
Right.
But they're not the best at it.
But they're not the best at it. But I feel like if you were to view like what's best for
there's no such thing as best though.
Like best for like yourself or as an output. Right? Like I feel like doing multiple things brings you closer to trying to make changes or trying to reach your full potential.
Or to see a different facets of you, different parts of you.
Right. Because if you just doing one, then you'll never know that one thing it might be not it. Right?
Well, you'll know when you're good at it.
Right, but just because you're good at it doesn't mean that you should pursue it. You know?
You can be good at many.
You can be good at many things, but doesn't necessarily mean that you should pursue that.
Like, who inspires me? I remember.
Right, but that's exploration. We're not talking about exploration. We're talking about someone that is trying to do multiple things and trying to be good at everything. Versus a person that is just knows what he wants and he does that one thing and does it really good.
Yeah, but I'm not sure if that's the best line, or if that's like the best stream to take. I feel like doing multiple things is always beneficial than just doing one thing.
And then when you find what you want, like, you master it.
Right. Yeah. And then you slowly, but the option of not doing multiple things is never a good option. You know what I mean? Like, if you've done multiple things and then you can streamline.
Right. That depends. There's some people that click with things right at a very young age.
Yeah.
Right. But you never know that they'll be better at something else, right? Like.
Yeah, but they know.
I guess exploration is important.
They'll be like, this is it.
But I want to add something to this. Sometimes I feel like if you know multiple subjects, they kind of intertwine.
Right.
The knowledge of it.
Right.
Like I was gonna say, like I love inspired by like there was like a Indian director, and at a very young age, our dad was like, oh, he's a director, but he's also an actor, but he also sings.
Yeah.
And he's in the industry of the filmmaking.
Mm-hmm.
So he understands the whole process of like acting, what it feels like to be an actor. So then he knows how to direct better.
Right.
Because he knows the emotion of the actor, how he feels when he's on stage.
Yeah.
And then he's like, what kind of music I want. So he has a musical taste that what's going to be a good music for that setting. You know, what's going to bring that emotion out. You know, so because of that, I feel like he could make really good movies. Because he knows the different aspect of that industry.
And we don't know his name as a director.
Yeah, I do. It's Kishore Kumar. But this is a really famous director.
In India, right. I've heard of him, obviously,
Right,
yeah.
But he's not even all that popular as a director or as an actor, is he?
Yeah, but popularity doesn't actually determine...
what I mean by popularity is like critically acclaimed.
He is.
Well, even critically acclaimed, I don't think it necessarily reflects. Just because you're critically acclaimed doesn't mean that you're actually a master of that thing, right?
Oh yeah.
No, not necessarily.
If you're up against other directors.
Yeah, but some directors are recognized by other aspects, right? By their connection, for example, right? The privilege they're given, like being in the film industry, nepotism, right? So you never know. Like critically acclaimed doesn't mean that he's actually a master, right? These things are it's like a personal thing. Like you have to know the person in order to know that.
Okay, let's talk about today's directors and greatest.
But
like Christopher Nolan.
But these are all popular actors. These are all popular directors, right? It doesn't mean that other directors are not doing as good of a job. It's just because they're not getting external validation. Just because they're not getting validation from the world doesn't mean that they're bad directors. Right. There's a lot of indie directors that are very good. Probably do better work than Christopher Nolan.
Yeah,
but are not known by society.
Yeah, Christopher Nolan was one of them, and he.
Well, yeah, but you could say that he sold out because like he tried to. This isn't an ideal world where you're thinking that output determines how famous you are, right? But just because you're famous as a director doesn't mean that you're a better director than someone that's not recognized as much. Because you're valuing recognition.
Okay, so let me ask you this.
You're valuing recognition more than
right. So let me ask you, who do you, in your opinion, is the best director right now?
Well, I'm not too well versed in films.
Okay. Okay. So who's the best cricket player right now?
In my opinion, let's see.
But it's not like the question is that so you believe that people should specialize and then focus on that because that way they're gonna be the best at that and they're gonna be known for that and that's gonna be their value and they can go deep inside that specific topic.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas
be the best.
Whereas Gurvit is saying that people should have a chance to explore different facets and be able to do you think that they can be good at multiple things?
But I'm not saying they shouldn't explore. I'm saying they should explore, then know, and then focus on
one thing.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think like I said, I feel it's still a wasted potential, even if it's like Tarantino or whatever. If he explored acting and he was a good actor, right? I think he did actually explore acting, so that statement is kind of whatever. But let's just say he never fucking went into acting and he never knew what kind of actor he is. He's a shit actor, I think, personally. I think he's very awkward on screen. But he puts himself in there anyway. So for example, if Tarantino played soccer, right, and he knew that he was really good at soccer, if he just focused on becoming a master of directing, he would never have the chance to make a difference in soccer. Right? Right? So that's potentially wasted. Right? Or Cristiano Ronaldo, right? Like, if he never went into acting and he just focused on soccer.
But he's still a master at director.
Sure, but you never know if he could have been a master in soccer. Because he just focused on directing.
Yeah.
Right? Same thing like Cristiano Ronaldo. If you just didn't go into directing and he was just a soccer player, you would never know if he was the best director in the world. Right? So it's kind of like a waste of potential.
But sometimes it's like, you don't need to.
Why not?
You just know.
Yeah.
Why not?
That's
You
another
just-
thing.
Well, how
There's-
do you just know? I feel like it's ignorant. It's
No,
like you're just
I
saying
know.
that because they're like
I
just
think
focusing on
it's
that one
very,
thing.
I think it's a personal thing.
Yeah.
It's like there's so
It's
many things in
very-
this
it's
world
like
that
it's honestly this is like unexplainable things, you know. It's like your gut, it's your heart, it just beats that way, and you're just like, yeah, it's beating.
I
It's
think
there,
I
you
think
know?
I think
it aligns, and you're just like, I feel it. That's it. You know, it's like being in love with somebody. It honestly is.
yeah, true. You just like kind of know it. But I really believe that as humans, we have a lot of potential, and it depends on like your passion and your intellectual level and level of awareness. But at the same time, I do feel like different knowledges can come together, and then you can specialize that because you know the different things that you played around with.
it also has to do with output to society, right? If you're only giving society yourself in that one aspect, you're depriving it of all the other things that you can provide it with, right? So like for me personally, like I'm part of the military, I'm doing a PhD, I have a startup company. And the reason why I set up my life like this is because I want to give back to society as much as possible. I give through my work, my PhD, but it's not enough. I know that I can do more things, right? And that's why I add more things to my list, because I want to give back to society as much as possible.
What if you were to do one thing and then
It wouldn't be enough, even if it's like streamlined in that specific thing, and you're giving
What if-
it all
what if-
in that, like for example, in
What
science.
if you were to solve cancer? Just let's just say, how impactful would that be versus what it is?
It
Today?
wouldn't be as much as doing all these other things, because life is an encompassing thing. You're helping other people in so many various other ways that like you don't even comprehend, through teaching, through your science, right, through the military. It's like you're trying to reach the audience as much as possible in your different ways, in your different personalities,
In
right?
your different
You're trying to
roles.
give back as much as possible in these various aspects. And like Meta said, one translational skill adds to the other translational skill, right? So when you master one, you're comfortable with it, you add something on top of it. Once you're comfortable with that, you add something on top of it. And you'll know when you reach like your limit, because like you're giving so much as much as possible in these various different aspects, you know? So like that's why I feel like if you want to give back to society as much as possible, that's why people do multiple things. Like Jeff Bezos, right, has so many things. Elon Musk has so many ventures as well. He does like SpaceX, and he does Tesla,
Yeah,
right?
but
That's like
it's
something
all, it's all tied into one philosophy that he has,
right.
and that's just that. It's not like he's doing some random things, right? It's not like he's doing something else like completely different. It's about bringing humanity to a different thing, and his main focus is actually Tesla. It's not
Right, but he still has these other commitments, right?
right. But
Right,
those
so
are
he might have
those
just
are
like
most
main
like
thing,
investments,
right? But he
right?
still has
Yeah,
like
those are
different,
investments.
and that's the reason why he doesn't streamline, right? He doesn't streamline into just Tesla. He likes to
Yeah.
have as many options as possible. Amazon, right, has a grocery store out of nowhere when they started off as a bookstore, right? Why a grocery store, right? It's about giving back and expanding as much as you can. It's about, you know, having multiple ventures. Thank you. I'm sweating. It's hot in Uluwatu more than Canggu. So
Canggu, yeah, I was like, oh, I see this sweat. Maybe it's the hat, but I want you to keep it on. It's cute.
no. But anyways, yeah. So like Amazon as well, right?
Mhm, but it still ties into their one thing that they do there
like what?
is sell groceries.
Well, Amazon doesn't just sell groceries, right? Online.
Well, they want to sell everything.
Well, not, but they've expanded
their
But it's
philosophy,
retail.
their philosophy, their what do you call it? Starts with an M. Their mantra.
Their model.
Their mantra. Their model is they want to sell everything and anything that they can.
Right, but that's
Since day one.
But
so
that becomes broad, right?
But
because we're talking about streamlining,
I know,
like master.
and they'll do that till they're dead.
Right. So
And like Apple is to
like,
change-
oh yeah, they have cars, right?
No, I don't. They'll.
Well, isn't Apple building
they'll-
cars? They're building self-driving cars.
No, it's 50-50, but it's probably canceled now.
But they looked into it.
Yeah, but they'll change. Their mantra is like, we want technology to help people as much as they can, and they'll all
Sure.
do that. They'll never sell groceries.
Sure.
Elon Musk wants to bring humanity to be more environmentally friendly and like be more self-sufficient. and he'll do that, and he'll never sell
But
groceries.
these are very broad goals. This is not specific.
Very
It's not
abstract.
master of one. No way that's master of one.
It's not master.
That sounds like jack of all trades, if anything. The
in
mantra
that one
goes-
industry.
Yeah, and that
it goes
it's
back
so
to that
broad.
director thing, right?
Yeah, it's
he's
so
in the
broad.
film
Right,
industry.
But he's
Elon-
doing acting, he's doing directing, he's doing that. It's all tied in together.
So Elon Musk, his main focus is Tesla. It's like 90% Tesla, and then the rest is his other ventures
Sure,
and investments.
sure. But if one grows, right,
So
it's going to take away from
when
Tesla.
you're
Let's go
managing money, it's
personal.
different.
Let's go in a personal level.
Like Virat Kohli only does play soccer. He only plays cricket, right? He doesn't. You never gonna.
No,
see
he's
him
gonna.
play soccer.
He's coaching, right? He's also coaching. He's doing
Yeah,
other ventures
in cricket.
in cricket for sure. But he has like different roles, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Right. He does
But
ads.
He still does. Well, yeah, because
Right.
he has to get sponsored. But
Like-
it still specializes in cricket.
Like he does acting
So
He's
I have.
still passionate, and
for sure.
it's,
But
it's gonna be cricket for him.
he still does
Till
other
he
things,
dies.
right? He still does
Yeah, it has
other
to be
things
cricket for him till he dies, right?
as a sport. Yeah,
It's
but what
not
you
gonna
do
be acting. It's not
Yeah,
gonna
sure.
be a stockbroker. It's not gonna be entrepreneurship. It's not gonna be selling ads. It's gonna be cricket.
No, he might become a politician, right? He might join a party. A lot of cricketers join, like Sachin Tendulkar, Gautam
Yeah.
Gambhir, right?
But-
Sanjay
I
Surya.
think
They're into the politics because they have such a huge following from cricket.
But then again, it's after they give up cricket. It's not like at the same time, right?
Yeah, but I mean, they still
And
have
it's
other
like-
ventures.
Right, and it's after they retire, after they can't do what they want to do.
Well, they still coach, and then yet they're still a politician, right? So it's not like they're doing everything just for coaching or just for
Then they
cricket.
lose the best title.
I think
Well,
we
the
can
best
talk about it in a personal level. Like, sometimes I think that, like, for me, I always get confused. Should I continue singing or should I do my brand, which is like totally opposites, right? One is like super art, music, like no money. The other one is like making a brand, making a difference, like kind of like business, right? So
Right.
it's like so different. And then I'm like, should I just focus on one, you know? Because it's like, then I can concentrate on that one thing. For a while, I was just like doing one. But I think now I'm like, you know what? Why can't I do both? Like, I think I can. Like, because that's what my heart calls. Like, I hate that I have to pick and choose.
Right.
And it's like, it's my life. I can do what I want to do. And in a weird way, I feel like in the future, those two can intertwine, you know? Like, there's a lot of actors or that have a brand of makeup and stuff. It has nothing to do with who they
But
are.
that's after they become really good at acting.
You know, but that's only because they have a platform of audience, though. You know, they're kind of milking their audience.
If you were to talk to them and ask them, they'll say that no, acting is really what I'd like to do.
You know, but then to get money, they're doing these brands. But I actually like retail. I like the whole process of the business. It's not because I have an audience that I'm gonna milk them and sell something.
Right.
You know, like
Right.
I believe in the brand. Like the brand itself is an entity, and then my music itself is an entity. Like I want to make songs not about oh I love you baby, but like really thought-provoking songs that can make people think, because this is what I think, you know, and kind of let that out. But in a personal level, Orchid, like Anadi, like how do you live like life? Do you always just like focus on one thing at a time?
Yeah. If I like to do one thing, then I'll shift focus on that one thing and try to do the best as I can. Put my 100% heart to it, 110% heart to it.
But like I like to work out, right? But I also need to have a job. So like if I have a job, do I stop working out? Because those are two different things.
No, you can still work out, and you can still work in the realm of working out.
And
But also, like when you're doing two things simultaneously, you learn from one thing and you kind of engage
then
in
again-
the other.
and
so
then
that's
again-
what I was saying.
And
Right.
then
And
again,
vice
the
versa.
human, and the way the human brain works too, right? It doesn't work. Nothing works simultaneously. It's always shifting, right? Like your left brain and your right brain, or even your focus. You think you're multitasking, but you're really not. You're really focused on one thing at a time, really quickly. And that's how computers work too, and that's how our brains work, and that's how you actually do work.
True.
You don't work simultaneously in two things.
Sure,
You
but-
work in phases, and that's how you should work in life too.
I
You should
think
work in
also it has to
phases.
do on a personal level how curious you are and how risk taking you are. Because some people get comfortable. They're like, oh, I'm good at this. I'm comfortable. this is it, and they're
Right.
too scared to get out
The boundaries, right.
of the comfort zone, because
Yeah.
it takes a
Yeah,
courage and
yeah.
like a kind of like a childlike
But
curiosity.
it also takes courage to be in the comfort zone,
How so?
Yeah.
because you have to be disciplined. You have to say no to a lot of things to be in that comfort zone.
Well,
And it's
Are you saying-
it's like it
But it-
breaks you, because you're like, you want to do a lot of things, but
no.
you're
What
like,
if you don't want to do a lot of things?
no,
What if you
but
just want to do that?
As humans, you do want to do a lot of things.
No, not necessarily.
yeah.
There's so many people that
As,
don't
as
want
a
to do a lot of
human,
things.
you are a person that wants to do a lot of things. You want to.
But they think that thing is enough. They think like a lot of things is that thing.
And
You know what I mean?
you know, like if you look at anybody that is successful in any field, they'll tell you like, it's the dark, like being tied down, locking yourself in a dark room with complete isolation, and that's how you get the best work done out of you. That's the best of you coming out, and you're psycho. You have to be psycho.
Like I had a friend who
And you get amazed at the results that you can produce in those situations.
No, personally, my results in the past 5 years has been the best when I've simultaneously done things. Like I've been more productive in science. Obviously, I've seen changes, right, in the way I do things, and I've been more productive in entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Just because I was able to reflect both, and I was really productive in both. Even like my supervisors and my friends were surprised. Like, dude, how do you do so much? I was almost on a daily. People ask me, how do you do so much? I was like, I don't know, dude. It's just like it's fun for me.
because you're getting excited about life and about your roles that you
Right?
can play.
Like,
You're not just
I'm
like
just
okay.
not like streamline. And people who streamline are actually burning out.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not burning out. I've never had a burnout day in my life because like I know how to balance my life. I know how to
But
do
I
multi
guess
things.
then it comes down to individuality.
Yeah. I think
You know, but I feel like if people did more like simultaneously, like more productive in your.
And I think that the fact that you figured that out, I feel out there, especially because of schooling, and they put this pressure of like you have to specialize. I think it's rooted from industrial capitalism, where
You think
it's like
school is actually like that?
Yeah.
I think school is
Yeah.
more like to do a lot of things, and whatever you find you
no,
do.
you have to pick.
No, they kind of streamline you, right?
You have
Because they want you
pick
to find a
your major.
job.
They're like, what's your major?
Yeah, but in the beginning stages, you have so many options.
Yeah, but you're just like a kid playing around.
Yeah, you're like you're not really. It's not like that. I think it becomes more serious when you're in 2021, and
Yeah.
that's when they streamline you.
That's when they streamline you, and that's when you're like, you're still young. You have no idea what is
But
happening.
you still have a choice.
Yeah, but then that choice for the next 4 or 5 years, it's a big decision.
It's a huge decision.
And that's why in India too, a lot of people do engineering and now they're doing MBA.
Right.
Because there's no jobs in engineering, even though they like engineering. But then they're like, oh, why didn't I do business? And it's just like this meshing pot just to get jobs. And like we were talking about, maybe it's a privilege that you can actually sit and talk about your passions. Because, you know, in the end of the day, you have to pay rent and get like food on the table, right?
Right.
So people put that aside. But I think that if people really follow their heart and take risk and go out there and try to even specialize in different things, in the end they might figure out something that really resonates with them, and then they can finally
Streamline.
Yeah, for sure.
streamline in one. Like I had a friend that really liked solar panels and engineering things, but he's like, no, there's no job for me, so I'm going to be I'm going to go into real estate. You know, and now.
But then again, that's not because he's not. It's because he's not passionate about it. His first thing was because he wanted to make money out of it, and it was like a big talk, and it was the biggest trend at the time, right? I mean, Elon Musk is still investing in solar panel because he still thinks it's the best tech, right? I mean, it's not like, oh, there's no money, there's no jobs.
Yeah.
And he's still there, and people call him crazy, but we know that it is one of the best.
Yeah.
For energy. Yeah.
True.
So it really comes down to like
True.
what your motive is from the beginning.
Yeah, I think money really plays a big part in output, right? That's what output could get, and the only way they can quantify it is the money that you're getting. But in the long term, they don't realize the sacrifices that they're making of their potential, of what they can actually do, and that's sad, you know. So I hope that people are more courageous enough to look at the different roles that they can play. You know, as a woman, like I'm a sister, but I can be a good daughter, I can be a good student, I can be a good lover, you know. So but it's still me, right? It's still this person. That doesn't mean like if I'm a good sister, I can't be a good daughter, I can't be a good friend.
Right.
You know, and those
Right.
are different roles, and they're
Well, you're kind of playing roles in your life.
Exactly,
You're playing
right?
the role of a son. You're playing
Yeah.
the role of a brother.
And I think
playing the role of a
exactly,
friend,
and I think
right?
in relationships everything is good like this, but in society, because of industrialization, capitalism, it's like no, focus on one. That's what you're good at. That's what you do. And there was a philosopher that I forgot her name. Oh my god, I'm so bad with this, but she actually went down and worked with these workers, and she saw that just doing a task one at a time, it burns you out. Whereas a person that, like the artisans I work with, I didn't put this industrial things. I actually really go and one artisan knows the full process of making that craft. So they know from the beginning to the end how to make that bag or
But they
that
only do
bracelet.
one thing, right?
No, they don't.
But the artisans.
No, that's my whole thing
So
too.
what are they doing?
So they're making the bracelet from beginning to the end. Not like if it was China factory.
Yeah, but they're doing that one thing beginning to the end. They're not doing
But in
that.
China, the streamline is that there's a bag and one person is just putting the zippers. Just
Right.
putting the zippers. Just putting the zippers. They have no idea how the bag is even made. They're just putting the zipper.
Okay.
They're just putting
But I think we're getting
Right.
off track here.
So that they're like specializing in just that task, right? And it gets so daunting.
But the
But
artisan
whereas-
as well is specializing in that one.
Well, I
task.
guess the definition, Archie, that I think we're struggling here with is like, what is specialization? Because you make it so broad, right? You're saying like Elon Musk is actually specializing, but then you're like, his specialization is to help.
Yeah, so I can say
It
the same
becomes
thing.
very
The artisan
broad.
specialization is making a bag.
Right.
But the China in specialization
Is making that
is
chain.
zipper, you know?
Right,
Like
yeah.
the girl is just putting a zipper.
So that definition becomes very, like, intangible.
Yeah, it's intangible. That's what
Right.
I'm saying. So what
So-
are we talking about?
I guess like we're being like more selective with being specialized in one thing. Like,
So that artisan is specializing at one thing.
well, no, not compared to the person in China, right?
The supply chain in China, that's 100% like
Like when we compare that, we're like, okay, that person just does that, and then that person just does that, and then you zoom out even more, and then you're like, oh, that person takes care of
So
everything.
not you're talking about like workforce versus independent work,
Yeah, sort of.
not jack of all trades.
Well, it ties in with that, right?
No, it doesn't.
it's like a metaphor to explain the
But anyways, where are we
understanding.
going with this? You were saying that this person makes the whole thing, and so what's the difference between these two?
So I feel like the
occupations?
artisans were happier because they knew how the bag is made or the bracelet is made.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're part of, like, if something happens in the process, like they'll know how to go. You know, like we were talking about how when somebody becomes a director, they're so far away from the employer, from the where it's coming. You know, like the streamline.
Right. Yeah.
But I feel like if a good director is going to know all the things and knows how each of the employees are feeling, right? So now because he's the director, he's jack of all trades.
Right.
Like he has a knowledge of that, right? And then he can actually they can make better decisions because they know what's happening.
Right.
So you know why Toyota today is the most reliable brand and the most reliable company? It's because of that reason. It's because of their supply chain. The way they work, one of the ways is like, if they find a fault in the supply chain, they report directly to the
The person in charge of that specific thing.
of the head of the company. So they know the whole process. So even if it's a guy that's doing, let's say, a door screw, he knows the whole process of making that whole car.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm
And this
talking
is the
about.
reason why Toyota is super reliable today.
Yeah.
Is because everyone knows how the car is made.
Yes.
And they report directly to the biggest thing, like, okay, there's a fault here. Because making a car, it's all about the supply chain.
Right.
And that's where reliability issues happen.
I see.
So when like, let's say other brands, when there would be trouble with one of the parts, they would to the manager, then the manager would go to the other manager, and then the other manager would go to the other,
Right.
and it just gets like,
Lost in
Yeah.
the grapevine.
and then they're like, okay, whatever, and then a few years
Just
later
let it
there's a
go.
recall.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I in my personal level.
So that still exists,
Right.
and even if the company is huge or small.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But a lot of it right now, because of industrial revolution and fast-paced production,
Yeah, a lot of shitty brands. Yeah.
is just focusing on one, you know.
Yeah.
And also working in corporate, I like my job because I had different departments I had to work with. So I had to
Which corporate job?
well, the fashion buying, right? So I had to work with the designers to be like, oh, what are the color trends that are coming up? So then I can plan accordingly the budget to buy those, you know. And then we had a meeting there. They're like, okay, these are all the styles that we like, but I had to pick and choose. But I still saw all the designs, right?
Right.
You know, and being in touch with different departments, I think that's what I think motivates people. So I think that specialization, it is a very crazy thing that you have to have. That you have to have the passion and the motivation to really be in it. But I think most people will like to be part of the whole collective of everything, you know?
Yeah, well, one thing I find interesting is that the more thing you specialize in, the more further you become from that thing, right? So as you're climbing the ladder or whatever, the hierarchy positions, you become more in a manager, right?
Yeah.
Than you become doing that specific task. And you become so far from it that you even forget what that specific task was about. You know what I mean? So it's like you kind of become like an encompassing manager of all the things that are happening as you grow in that company. So wouldn't that kind of focus on becoming not specialized in one, but actually a jack of all things that are happening as you grow in the company?
Yeah.
Or as you grow in anything?
But
I think we're going into the supply chain and stuff. In a personal level, I get insecure that I'm like, oh, I'm not a good singer, I'm not a good musician because I'm not just focusing on that. If I was a true passionate musician, then I would be just focusing on that, and that would be my life all day in and day out. You know, and then that way I tell the universe that, okay, this is what I want. This is exactly what I want. But now because I'm confused, I'm like, do I even deserve that? Like maybe other musicians are just so in it that like no matter what, this is what they want. But then I'm like, then I look back and I'm like, okay, but those musicians have no idea how retail works. They never had that experience. You know, they don't know that they have that passion.
Right.
And if I really talk honestly to myself, yes, I like retail. Like I get excited about it. Like I like the whole process of it. You know, from buying to selling, the employees, the branding, the process of, I just love it. And then if I talk about music, you know, I start producing. I'm like, oh, this sounds nice. Oh, this is good. Like I get passionate in that, right? So when I myself focus on one thing, I am focused on that thing. But that doesn't mean it takes away from the other thing, right? And for the longest time, I was insecure about that. I was like, I can't do both. But I was like, why not? Like who has this rule book that I can't do both? You know? Like maybe I'm one of those weird
you
gray
could
people.
do both and you could do multiples, but it's at one time at a thing.
Yeah.
Well, one thing you can't deny is that things take hours. They take hours
True.
of your time in practice.
Yeah.
And if you don't put in those hours, then you're not going to get anywhere, no matter how many things you're doing.
True.
Right? You have to put certain
That's a
amounts of
good
hours
point.
to be a singer, and you need to put certain hours to be
Entrepreneur.
an entrepreneur, right? Those things are both going to take a lot of hours and sacrifice, and you're not going to be able to reach that no matter what, right? Even if you divide it up or whatever. You know, those hours are going to be those hours, no matter how you divide it up or if you focus on one thing. But you have to put in those hours. You have to put in that discipline. I think these things are key to any kind of venture that you go off of. If it's multiple things or if it's one thing, discipline, consistency, resilience, they're going to be they're going to be things that are never going to change.
Yeah. Just to end our topic about that, I think people should not be afraid that just because they chose a degree or they chose something, that means it's too late to start something. I think this is like one of the biggest like insecurities and fears that people have. And I just want to tell people out there that it's never too late to start anything or to start a new role. You know, sometimes we make decisions based on pressure, based on like the limited knowledge that we know. But as we change, as time goes by, we all change, right? And change is the only constant. So don't be afraid to be like, oh, I used to like this, but I don't like it anymore. And it's okay. It's okay. People are always kind of scared to change their opinions, change their thoughts, change their views, because they invested so much energy on it, you know, whether it's relationship or school. And I always feel sad because I'm like, yeah, well, you'll continue to waste more time if you don't actually take a risk. And maybe you'll actually go back to it because you'll be like, oh, actually, you know what? I was actually good at that. Like, why was I thinking that?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You know, one thing I just wanted to add is like, you know, it's funny, like people say they have too much on their plate, but when you add so much on your plate, instead of your plates like staying the same, it actually grows. You know, you add the more things you add to your plate, the plate grows, and you can add more things.
Well,
it's kind of like a weird thing.
You're ruining the metaphor, because plates don't grow. That's the metaphor.
But they do grow. Like, you think that plate is going to stay the same, but the more things you add, it kind of grows. It turns into a bowl.
But like, no, you just, because
Right.
that's the metaphor. The metaphor is that the plate doesn't grow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's what I'm saying. It does grow. Right?
Yeah, like
I think
it's
a
wrong
mistake.
perception that
it's
people
a wrong
say.
perception. Yeah. Think of the plate made out of clay, and you can just mold it into growing. So they think they have too much on their plate, but the more things you add on your plate.
But no, actually, you know what? Maybe the more things but you have to keep digesting whatever you're adding, because you like with resilience, with discipline.
Right.
You know, so yeah, you're putting it, but you're actually also using it. You're not just like not doing that.
Right. I don't know. I'm in the realm of fill up your plate as much as possible, and if you feel uncomfortable, if you're overwhelmed, remove it slowly. But in the beginning, don't be scared.
Yeah.
Don't be scared to fill it up all the way.
Yeah.
Do all these ventures. Do all these things. Mess yourself up.
Yeah.
If you think it's too much, then stop dropping
yeah,
slowly.
make mistakes.
Whatever you think is not your priority, you just stop. I can't invest this much time. Friends, I can't do that much. Right? Off your plate goes. Then that makes time for something else.
That's true.
Because then you reprioritize all your work.
Yeah,
and then you know what's important.
That's true. And a lot of people.
Yeah, but I mean, we're not disagreeing with that. I'm disagreeing that you could be a master at everything.
You cannot be a master.
I don't know. I think if you set your priorities straight, then there's a potential to be.
I believe that there's no such thing as a master. Like you can never be
Overall?
a master. Yeah. Like you can.
No. So yes, you can. And if I were to ask you, are you the best at what you're doing? Is this the best that you could do?
No, because you yourself are always growing.
Yeah, no. But if I were to ask you, yes or no, is this the best that you could do at this?
No.
But it's never going to be a yes.
Yeah, it's never going to be a yes. That's what I'm trying to say.
No, is this the most effort that you can give? Best effort? This is the best work that you could do?
For now, at this moment?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
But I know that tomorrow is going to be better than today.
Right.
Okay.
And like I can never say I'm a master. Even let's say I won an Oscar, I'm gonna like even people
even
who are
okay.
Right.
So
Yeah.
okay. So even if I remove everything, your work will still remain at that level. It won't become better.
Remove everything in terms of what, like eating and sleeping?
No, like your other jacks.
Yeah, I think so. Probably, yeah.
Your,
Or if anything, it's gonna get worse.
Your one thing that you said that you were good at.
Yeah, it's probably gonna get worse.
It won't get better or worse. It'll
Probably
worse.
get worse. Yeah.
It'll get worse.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because then you can't apply the things that you're learning. You know, you're gonna miss all those chances that you're learning in other ventures to apply in that and make it better. It's gonna be a slow learning curve.
I guess that it's very individual.
yeah, I think it is very individual. And
It's a very
good for you
individual.
if you found your passion and that's it and you're doing it with full heart, you know? But if you're not, I feel like go out there and
Oh
try.
yeah, for sure. If you have it. Then,
I want to talk about like being a good leader versus being a good person. So, like leadership qualities. Like what do you think defines a good leader? And what are the qualities a good leader has? Like that could be different. Like okay, first, what defines a good leader?
I feel like Archie should go first.
Yeah. Nadi, what do you think a good leader is?
Sorry.
a good leader is someone someone involved and is part. It's like, you know, that drawing that we see where the guy's whipping the workers to work.
Yeah, that's exactly what came to mind as well. Actually, it's kind of weird.
Then you see the leader to be
kind
and
of
part of the pushing.
Yeah, right.
That's a good leader.
Right.
You think
It's
that's a
kind of-
good leader?
He's like involved, I guess, in the pushing.
Yeah.
Like he's whipping people?
No, the opposite.
Where he's pushing the
So-
rocks with the workers.
So I guess we got to give context to Meta. So there's like this image that comes out. I don't know, it's on memes or Instagram or Facebook or whatever. You know, I guess both saw it. And there's this guy that's like pulling a bunch of rocks, and the person is sitting on the rocks and is like telling the guy, "Okay, that way." And then that's a bad leader. And then a good leader is a person that's not sitting on the rocks, but it's also helping the individual push the rocks towards.
So yeah, for you, Anadi, you're saying that someone that participates
It's
in the process, the action with the people.
With the people.
That's a good leader.
Yeah.
And you? That's the same kind of definition as
Yeah,
you.
but that kind of realms on, for me, the red flags that come up is like micromanagement. So like if you're pushing with the person, then you're gonna tell them to push this way or push that way, and it's gonna ruin their independency to push the way they want to. Compared to the person that's sitting on the rocks, the person that's pushing the rocks is gonna be more like they're gonna push it their way, so they're gonna take this steps or that steps with the person. So I guess what I would say overall is like that person that's pushing the rocks with the person that they're leading, they have to give them that independency to push the way they want. They can't make them push the way they want, right? So they have to have this mindset of, and now that I'm talking about it, more ideas are flowing, and now I'm thinking
that's what we're here for.
It's actually a very personal thing. So everybody wants to be led very differently. People want to be micromanaged. There's people that don't want to be micromanaged. There's people that want to be in between. So you really have to find for that specific individual what they want. So you have to ask the person that you're working with, how do you want to be led? What do you want? What are you comfortable with?
Kind of like their love language, right? There's a leading language.
Yes, there's a leading language.
I was going to actually say a good leader is a good mentor.
Right. But they have to have that conversation with the person that they're mentoring, that what works for you, not what works for me.
Yeah.
What makes you comfortable, and for them to have that versatility and skills that they can provide to be hands-off or hands-on or in between, right? So a good leader has all of these skills, all these three management skills, where they can be what the other person wants, and to be simultaneously for different people different things.
Good. Yeah.
That's what I think is a good leader.
Nice. For me, a good leader, like growing up with you guys, being like the eldest, right? Like I don't want to say I'm the leader of the group, but kind of am, right? Like, but I'm since a young age, like I had a friend and she's the eldest too, and she's like, oh, I'm like a mother, no, and I'm like the mother is leading her way, right? And I was like, you're not a mother, you're a sister. And what I learned with our relationship is that I never wanted to tell you what to do. I was like collaborating. Like, okay, guys, these are the ideas. Like, what do you think we should do? Right? And I love collaborating in a way that I think for me, a good leader is someone that makes the person think that they're making the choice.
All right.
Like, it's not me telling you do this. It's you telling me what you want for that picture.
Yes.
Like,
to be involved. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, it's like, okay, we need to clean the kitchen. This is what the leader wants. How do you think we should do it? I'm not gonna be like, do this, do that, you know? And then you're involved in the process. You're like, oh, okay, I think we should do this. And then if I'm like disagreeing, and I'm going to give you more options. Like, do you think maybe we can do like this? And I guess it is kind of saying the same thing, but yeah, like communicating.
Right.
But for me, like, you can't just ask the person because they're not the leader.
Right.
They don't know.
Right.
So you have to give them the colors, the tools that will help them make that decision. But in the end, you're guiding them.
Right. But what if they make a wrong decision? And that's the thing, right? Some people, you're just not meant to lead.
Yeah.
They're not in your realm. So then you should tell them that I can't be a mentor to you. You have to let them off, because I feel like as leaders or as mentors or as teachers, you think that you can teach everybody, but you can't.
No.
Some people are just like not in your realm of teaching, right?
But
you just can't break that ice. So then to be self-aware that you can't teach everybody and you can't lead everybody, and that you can't be a good mentor to everybody is important to realize.
That's really hard as a lead,
because you want to, right?
Yeah.
But not everybody's gonna be your student.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right. So identifying your students are very important, and the person you can lead. If you can't be hands off, then don't take a person that needs hands off managing. Don't put them on your team. So I think that really defines a good leader, and that's what comes with bad leadership as well, right? Is a person that they think that can lead anybody in any team, but in reality, you're not God.
I met a lot of entrepreneurs that have a hard time delegating responsibilities.
So they take everything on themselves.
They take everything on themselves because they're like, I know I can do a better job. But at that position, you really need to start having trust, and delegating responsibilities, I think, is a really, really hard task for some entrepreneurs and leaders, because they know they can do it better.
Then what's the point? Then you're just not leading, right?
Exactly.
You just...
And I think when I started my brand, I know I didn't launch it yet, but everything I'm making, even the little levels, I'm organizing in a way that I'm thinking as if an employee were to come and do this task, now I'm saying specialization to this, marketing. How will they, because my thought process, I know what I'm doing, could be messy, but then I'm like, no, I need to make it in a clear, concise way, process that I can able to delegate it, because I don't want to do this menial task. I want it to give it to someone, right? And that is so I think I already have this, because I already worked at that level.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to be able to give them that so they understand. Like, it's like a Lego, like, puzzle, right? Like, this is the puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
This is how it's supposed to be done.
Right.
So, like, I think, yeah, being a leader is like going to that person that you're leading, what they will look at you. Like, it's a mirror, like how they will look at you. So I think that's like for me, that's like leading. Do you think the qualities of a good leader is different from a good person? Because sometimes you have to be
rigid.
Yeah.
And you have to be
Yeah.
heartbreaking.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's a tough one, right? Because we have like Hitler in society who was a good leader, but he's not a good person, right? But like Hitler had a vision, right? He didn't ask his people what they wanted, but yet people followed him. So, you know,
He painted the vision, though.
he painted the vision, but he didn't ask people like what they wanted, what they didn't want, right? He painted a vision and people
But he
followed him.
painted a vision knowing what the country was going through.
Right?
Like I'm sure there's a lot of people that wanted that, right?
Yeah.
That's why they were
At that time,
right.
they were desperate.
Yeah.
And it was Germany was going through a really hard time.
Right.
And they needed someone to give them like hope and he did that. He gave them that hope that like, oh, okay, we are strong and we have this common goal together.
So how important are sentiments, right? When you're leading, sentiments, emotions, people like, I feel like you can be very manipulative as a leader, because if Hitler can manipulate so many people, I think bosses.
I don't
in
think
the
he
micro
knew that he was
level-
manipulating. Like all evil road is done with good intention. I think his intention was good.
So then, like, how do we know that our intentions are bad or like, you know what I mean? How do we know us ourselves that we're painting
Like we're leading the right
intention,
way.
right?
Yeah.
But in reality,
That's why bosses have bosses and
Board of directors.
Yeah.
Yeah, but how do we know the board of directors or not?
right?
That's why it's an acclamation of multiple people.
So you don't think one person can be a leader? Like a leader needs another leader?
Yeah.
So who's gonna lead the other leader?
There has to be. There
Wait a
has to be.
Yeah.
It's a committee.
Illuminati. No.
It's like a committee. Yeah.
Yeah, Illuminati leads everything.
Yeah, it's a committee, right? That decides on if he's being a good leader or not, and if they're not, then they're not.
So do you think someone can be an effective leader without being a good person?
Yes, of course, we see it every day, right?
Yeah.
We see it almost every day. It's kind of sad, but
So where do we draw the line between like morality and effectiveness? I would ask you, Anadi.
I mean, if you want to lead and you want to reach your vision, whatever that is, morality has to take a hit.
yeah, unfortunately, morality can take it. So it's
And
dependent on your
everything,
value.
you know, like if you want to be a leader, I mean, it has to be sacrifices, and one of those sacrifices are like your emotional side.
Right.
Because you're just like on that vision and you have to
Yeah.
obey that vision because all these other guys are like waiting on you
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
for the next step.
Exactly.
Right. So that's how you become a good leader, but a bad person.
And I guess that goes down to your own individual awareness and your own morality and your own ethics, right?
And goals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why sometimes I think I'm really bad with being an entrepreneur because I'm not that money hungry, right?
But you don't have to be money hungry to be an entrepreneur, I think.
Yeah.
If you have a vision
Yeah.
and you know, you're
Has
going to piss...
nothing- money, fame, like we discussed in our
It's
last podcast, those are things that are
gonna come
it's
after.
outcome.
Outcome. Yeah.
Right,
True,
right.
true.
For sure, yeah.
True. Like I genuinely like the process. Yeah, that's true.
An entrepreneur, I learned, is very different from like big companies and things like that. It's your own.
It's your own baby.
It's your own baby. It's your own vision. It's your own kind of like where you want to take it, and nobody can tell you anything.
Yeah. It's
You
your
know,
own
if you think
stuff.
that's right, then that's right.
Right. How do you think like behavior of a leader, whether good or bad, impacts the people that we lead?
I mean, there's like the saying, right? Who likes their boss, right? In
Yeah,
society,
yeah. That's
who
a
the
good
hell
point.
likes their boss, right? It's like so like it's so like general to everybody that everybody hates their boss. Another thing is like everybody hates their job as well. Trying to I really try to kind of stray away from this as much as possible. I feel like we should stray away from this. I feel like we should select good bosses, you know, we should select bosses that we like, but I don't know if it's too idealistic, I think. I think we're always going to have bosses that we hate. I don't know. I'm not
What
sure how I
about-
feel about this. To be honest, I haven't thought about it. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I mean, someone telling you how to do your work and stuff, watching you. You're always gonna hate them.
But you get the job done, right? Your
You
vision.
get the job done, yeah.
You know what? I'm thinking
But
of.
there's some that you do like, right? Like, it's like being a teacher, you know? Like,
Yeah.
You have teachers that you do like.
Even though they're
I
strict.
love my boss.
Even though
Yeah, even though
Shout
they're
out to
strict.
Grisha.
yeah.
Yeah, actually,
Right?
whenever
I
I
love my
worked in
boss.
corporate, I don't think I could have worked if I didn't like my boss. Because
Right.
I know it's a grind. I know it's not my baby.
And I'm sure there's some people that worked with you that said they don't like you. They don't like your boss, right?
No, everyone liked the boss. Like,
Really?
and
That's
the-
good.
my
That's very
director
positive.
in Aldo, I loved him. Like, super nice. Like, he was also a musician, so I saw that he was also like doing music after work. But then he was super involved in the passion. Lois at Oak and Forge, she was so gentle and kind, but she was like effective,
No,
hard
no,
work.
I'm talking about like your colleagues
Yeah.
would say maybe they don't like that person, that boss, as a boss.
No, I felt like
No,
they shined as the good
Yeah,
people. You
everyone
can
liked-
you can tell they're good people.
That's really good.
Everyone.
Yeah.
liked their-
So I do believe that you can be a good boss and a good person at the same time, because I had those mentors. I had it because you know how they inspired me by not being like do this. I saw the hard work they did and staying up made me inspired that even though they're in these big positions, they're still working too. They're pushing the wall too, right? In their own way.
Damn, you would love Martin.
Yeah. and but they weren't micromanaging me, right?
Okay.
I was doing, but I take initiative. I'm a person that takes initiative. That's
Right.
why I guess I'm an entrepreneur, right? Like I know what's missing and I do it. Like I'm not an employee where it's like, 9 to 5 clock out. Like if there's more I can do, I will do it because I'm in it. Or else why am I gonna work looking at 9 to 5?
Right.
You know, I look at the job and I'm like, this is missing. Like I would come up with so much initiatives. Like, guys, this is. They loved it. They loved that.
Coming up with ideas.
Yeah, coming up with ideas, coming up with solutions more than my task.
Right.
You know, so that's why I liked working with them. And then they liked that vibe too. So then they didn't micromanage me. Right? But I'm thinking about mom and dad here. So mom is a good boss because she gets the task done.
Yeah.
But our father is like super empathetic, super nice, super good person. But he's a terrible boss. Like he cannot tell people what to do. He's going to start doing it. And the employee's going to watch him.
Right.
You know? And I find sometimes that if you're an employee, like a lot of people in general need to be told what to do. They like it. They're like, tell me what to do and I'll just do it.
Yeah.
And then it's like, they get that sticker. They like it. Done.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're a good person and you don't know how to get the task done, I think it's just meaningless. Like you should just then be an employee.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's better to have a leader that's not liked but gets the job done, I think.
Yeah.
Like mom actually gets the job done, right?
Right. But she's not liked as much.
If she's not liked, because she's like she knows what she wants, and if you don't do
She's very
it,
strict,
she's
yeah.
gonna tell you, right?
Right.
And I try to play both. Like I don't want to be too strict because I also don't want to be like a bitch boss. You know, I'm a little bit insecure with that, like feminism. Like they're always like, guys are nicer than the woman boss, right? Because I find. Okay, we're gonna talk about this in the masculine, feminine part.
Well, guys are nicer than the.
Yeah, because they get like they looked at, but then if a girl says it, she's a bitch, you know. So I try to be like, I'll do it with you too, and like
Right,
I put that little bit of feminine energy so that I'm not too like delegating. Maybe it's a bit manipulation because I don't want the other person to feel attacked, but I get the thing done, but not as like, So I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, I'm very relaxed. I'm just very, very relaxed.
Yeah.
I just don't maybe I don't get the work done. Actually, just too relaxed. Like let them learn by themselves. I feel like letting them be and learning from their mistakes, their growth, I think is more important than just getting the job done. So I focus more on their growth as an individual.
Is there a vision that you're trying to get it to? Is there a goal that we need to get to?
There might be, but for me, the focus when I'm managing people is their growth as an individual more than actually achieving the goal itself. I could care less if you achieve the goal or not, but as long as you're growing as an individual, I'm happy.
Me too. I have that same mentality because I believe that if you have the tools, you will get that too.
Right. I don't care about the outcome. I don't care how much you're producing or how much you're doing a good job or whatever.
Especially in the beginning.
I care about your growth, how much you're learning
Yeah.
every day, how much you're growing as an individual, how you're thinking. Is your thinking expanding? Are you thinking about things more deeply? I don't care about the outcome. You know, it's negative. It's negative. I don't care.
Did you ever encounter? Because I encountered a good boss and a good leader.
Mm-hmm.
Have you encountered a good leader but a bad person?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, for sure. In my workspace.
Okay.
Martin, right? I worked under him, right? I think he was a great leader, right? Really good, pushing 12 hours a day, you know. But I just thought he was a bad person. I think he was too disconnected from his students, right? He thinks that he's connected because he throws like parties and drinking and events and things like that. But he's never let them think independently and let them do what they want and give them space, you know. These things are very important, especially in academia, to help the person grow, because I feel like you're still in school, so you're still learning, and you have to let the individual be an individual. You have to let them grow as an individual, and if you micromanage them, you take huge part of them away.
Yeah.
Like I said in the beginning, like you have to be a good mentor.
Yeah.
Mentor,
The
yeah.
leader is a good mentor.
I read in the Tao that it's like said that in order for you to be a good leader, you're not the person doesn't know that you're leading them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Feels like a friend.
Yeah.
You trust, right? Trust is so important.
Trust is so important. And maybe because I'm hippie and like, I don't know, I always believe that we're equal, but yes, of course, there's some people that are born to be natural leaders, and they should take that responsibility as not from an ego point of view, but from a heart point of view, and like put empathy, you know, and understanding in the light and in a macro level,
Right.
you know, and don't abuse the power.
Right.
You know, so that for me is like a good leader. Someone that can see the bigger picture. So yeah, I think I had like a lot of your like, is it possible to balance being a good leader and a good person? I think that's so true. But sometimes, yeah, leadership does force us to compromise our values and stuff that we talked about. Is there anything you want to add on this point?
I think power reveals people more than it changes them.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Remember when you were telling me about that?
Yeah, that's true. I agree.
Right. Sorry, what was the point?
I guess I grew up with being a leader since a young age, right? And then even in high school, I feel like the group, I would be like suggesting things and people would do it, you know? So I think I always grew up being a leader, and it's like, it's just natural for me. But I also know when I'm in a group setting and someone wants to take a lead, I let them. I love it. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll follow. And then I become so admired and like I listen and I do it, you know? So I think it's like if you're a good listener, you're also a good, like a person that's able to speak is also a person that's able to listen. So I think that goes in leadership quality too. Like,
right. If you're a good leader, you're a good follower.
Yeah.
Because you know that's what the leader wants. You know the expectations from a follower because you've led so much and you know how to behave, right?
Yeah. That was another point. But the point I was going to talk about, this power thing. Remember you said we were watching something about this test that they gave these people, the prisoners and the guards.
Right. It was a Harvard experiment.
Yeah. So tell us about this experiment.
Yeah.
Did you hear about this experiment?
No.
This is really interesting.
It's
kind of
tied in
gross.
with the MK Ultra as well, but they basically had a set of students and none of them were told anything. They were all like left in the dark, no details and stuff. And one set of students were given a guard uniform and a stick, and a hat and all the police uniform, and the other one were given the prisoners an orange outfit. And what happened within
6 days?
6 days was it? Yeah, not even a week.
Yeah.
Was that the guards would make the prisoners do horrible things. So they would strip them naked. They would make them do tasks, inhumane tasks, for no reason.
But in the end, their excuse was they're doing it for a bigger cause, a bigger collective.
Right. Yeah.
Like they're doing something good.
Yeah.
Because they're protecting, they're being guards. They're protecting these bad prisoners.
Right.
So they're being good guards.
Right. How much of our life do we hide behind our occupation?
Yeah.
Right. We do this because we're told.
Yeah.
Right. How much things do we do just because we're told, and we hide behind our occupation? Bro, it's my job. That's why I did it.
Yeah.
What do you mean, quit my job? Right? You're hiding behind your
So
occupation.
people lose their morality.
Right.
And their ethics.
Yeah.
Because of the collective or what's expected of them.
Right. Exactly.
And they forget that hard.
Yeah. What do you mean? I'm gonna ditch my family, bro? It's my job.
But
right?
I see
it's
it
like
in,
hiding behind your occupation.
yeah.
It's making an excuse, right, for the morality, because we don't like to blame ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't feel good.
Or it's like a protection, right?
Yeah.
But we do it in a micro level too, right? Like I find people are so scared to be vulnerable in love or things like that. They play games and dating and stuff because they're like, oh, well, I have the power, right?
Yeah.
Like we said this example about deleting the app if you meet someone, right? And then it's like, I could play the game and not delete it because then I have the power, look at my choices. Or I can live with my heart and be like, oh yeah, you know what? This, right? But it's more risk and I will get hurt in the end. But I don't know, it's like kind of like the same, right? Vulnerability and following your heart versus like having power.
Yeah. I think all of these things are learned. I don't think we're born with these things.
Yeah. Society, it's like it makes you...
It's what you learn through growing up, and it's important to unlearn things. As much as we focus on learning a lot of things and
100%.
growing things, we have to ungrow, kind of unlearn.
Yes, that's so true.
Go back to our intrinsic value as human beings. You weren't born with getting a job. You weren't born with getting an education.
Or power.
You weren't born with giving back to society, right? None of these things you were born with. These things are learned. These things are learned, and you think that you have to do these things, but it's not necessary.
True. And I think after a certain point, especially like after 25, that like you should really start thinking about what are your values that really resonate with you and where are they coming from, and is that really who you are? But we talked about that last episode too, right?
Right.
Is there anything you want to add?
No, I think I pretty much agree with you guys.
Do we continue on the next topic, or do you think that...
I think it's getting a little bit hefty.
Yeah, it is. I know we talk so much. Like, I really want to talk about masculine and feminine energy.
Oh my God.
But we're going to cut it here because I feel like we're tired and like we had a long ass day. So
3 a.m. here.
So yeah, thank you guys for joining our podcast. We're going to continue our topics next episode, so please tune in. And if you haven't, please subscribe. Please like, please follow. And again, thank you so much for listening and being here. Thank you, Gurvit, and thank you, Anandi, for being here. I know it's late.
It was so much fun.
But yeah, it's really fun once we start talking. And so thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bro, we get off topic so quick.
What are you gonna do, bro? Meta's gonna bring us back?
Host this shit.
Ah.
Let me host.